Okay, this step will be to finish off the shifter by putting in the shift linkage. So we will be attaching the shift linkage to the shifter and the tranny shift point. First thing you do is you take the rod end of the shift linkage and you orient it to the holes in the pivot at the bottom of the shifter, and you'll note that this set screw is going to face downward because it'll be easier to adjust in the future like that. So we put it through the hole and we slide it through. Then we want to make sure that this shifter box is set to park just as the shifter itself is set to park up at the top, which you'll want to see. The shifter at the top is set to park because it's pushed all the way forward. So we come down here and we take the 7/16 wrench and we put it over the thicker part of the shift linkage, and then we go clack once, click twice, and typically that should put you into the park position because you can't push it anymore. Then you take the 7/16 wrench off and you place the linkage over the top of it, and you'll want to make sure that you have it right. The linkage can only go on one way because it's got a squared off part and it will slide down. And then once it's on tightly, then what you'll do is you'll take the just check in here to make sure I've got it on tightly. Okay, once it's on tightly, then I'll take the nut and I'll put it over the top. Do we have a torque spec on this, Mike?
Need to confirm that one from GM.
Okay, and so I'm tightening it down by hand, and then I'll take my 15mm, tightening down the linkage. So I've got it nice and snug, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 13mm wrench and I'm going to come around here and I'm going to tighten the linkage to make sure that I get it tight. So you roll it up by hand until you know you're close, and then once you get close you can just use the wrench to get a couple of turns on it, and you're going to want to snug it up pretty tight because you'll note that we've got the bolt pointing downward, which makes it easier to adjust in the future when the tunnel cover is in, but you want to make sure that you snug it up because a bolt that points down is a bolt that can fall out. And so if it vibrates itself out, you'll want to make sure that that it can't, so you'll do it tightly. And then we'll mark them, and that will be that. Step complete.